everybody, and welcome. Today I'm going to, in a way, sort of be going back in time to the very first video that I ever made, where I talked about a couple of cooperative games that I really enjoy. And the reason that I wanted to come back to it, I always wanted to come back to it at some point, but part of the thing, if you saw my video on games that can help you transition from the more simple casual gaming to the more complex strategic, one of the things that I mentioned was cooperative games. They're a very important part for that, especially for new players who aren't used to Euro style or the more complicated strategies involved with a lot of games. And the reason being that a lot of new players especially will feel more comfortable if they're going to be playing a game where they can work with you rather than against you. And it's really interesting because the whole dynamic of the table greatly changes if you're playing a cooperative versus a competitive game. I mean, in the competitive game, nobody trusts anybody else. You have no idea what they're going to do, or hopefully you have some idea, and you can hopefully stop it in some way. But with a cooperative game, you have tons of table talk. Everybody's saying, I have these cards, I need these, let's do this, what about this, how about this? It's great, and it's a really wonderful way to, like I said, introduce players to this new style of gaming, or a new style of gaming, rather. And so I've got my my top 5 list, but before I get to that, I'm going to get started with a couple of my honorable mentions. First for my honorable mentions is a game that I only purchased relatively recently, but it's really fun. It's a really unique style of game, and I think the theme is really great. The game is Shadowhunters. This is a really interesting game, and it is cooperative, but the reason that it's on the honorable mention rather than the main list is because of the way that it's cooperative. It's cooperative in the sense that you have teams rather than you have just a single group. It's reminiscent of if you've played the Yakuza expansion for Cash and Guns. It becomes a sort of team-based cooperative game where you've got 2 or 3 people on each team going against each other. Shadowhunters is fairly similar, where you've got 3 groups. You've got shadows, you've got the hunters, and you've got the bystanders, or bystanders. And the idea is that, you know, you win as a group, and the idea is that your identity is initially secret, so nobody knows who or what you are, and you have to try to win by guessing who's on your team. If you've ever played something like Bang as well, it's a very similar mechanic. In the end, it is a cooperative game, but like I said, it's an honorable mention because it is not fully cooperative, and you still have a lot of like, okay, you might be on my team, but I can't believe that you are. I can't assume that you're on my team. So you do still have a little bit of that competitive nature going on with it, which isn't a bad thing. Like I said, it's a wonderful game. It's a lot of fun. But as far as a full-fledged cooperative game that's really good for new people, not so much. But again, the theme is really cool, I think. It's a really interesting idea of what's going on. So I personally really like it. And for all of those reasons, collectively, Shadowhunters, my first honorable mention. My second honorable mention is a game that I got relatively recently that I've only talked about, I think, once, maybe twice. And it's a game that was actually a Kickstarter funded game that I pre-ordered. It is Antimatter Matters. It was finally released, and it looks really cool. It's a really fun game. It's really awesome. Obviously, I'm really into science and technology and all that kind of stuff. So I really love to see a game that really captures that thing. And the reason that I want this on the list is because it does have cooperative elements. And the reason that I say that is essentially actually some of the rules variants let you play this as a co-op game as opposed to a competitive game. It is designed as a competitive game, but essentially what you can do is you can take all of the pieces and putting them collectively together, you can do more things. So the whole premise of the game is you're trying to build atoms. So you need the quarks and you need the protons and the neutrons and all that kind of stuff. All right, you need all of the individual subatomic particles so that you can make up atoms. The problem is that when you have the individual players, there are only so many pieces that can go around, and the idea behind the team and the co-op functionalities are that all of that is shared so you can make larger atoms. You can make more complicated atoms, which is cool, it's interesting, but it is not a purely cooperative game, which is, again, why it's only an honorable mention and not on the main list. It is fun, it's a cool game to play, especially if you have a bunch of friends who are quantum physics nerds, but at the same time, again, since it is primarily a competitive game, it's just an honorable mention, but with that rules variant, you do have a cool cooperative feel to it, and it is nice because it does make the game itself very versatile, which is really cool. But on the original note that I had as well, as far as transitioning new players, a lot of new players would probably be put off by the theme for this. A lot of people really don't like physics, or they either never took it or they took it and just really didn't understand it, didn't like it, and this goes even further than physics. So that alone can turn a lot of people off very quickly. But in general, fun game. I personally like it, obviously, because I'm a science guy. But Antimatter Matters, my second honorable mention. To kick things off at number 5, I have a game that I have talked about several times and was actually one of the stars of my very, 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 very first video when I talked about cooperative games. It is Shadows over Camelot. This is a wonderful, classic cooperative game. There is at least one expansion. I think it's Merlin's Travels or Merlin something. I don't remember exactly what it is. But it does have an expansion to it. I don't own it. But the base game itself is just very, very fun. I really like it. It's a good cooperative game. It has a theme that most people will at least be familiar with. Most people probably know the Arthurian legends, and I mean, if they don't, it's your standard go and stab bad guy and go and collect MacGuffin A. So, people can at least get on board with it for the most part. And the problem that I have with it, and the reason it's not higher on the list, is because this, like several other cooperative games like it, is potentially not fully cooperative. You have the idea of the traitor in the midst, and the other game that I always mention with it is Battlestar Galactica, with the potential for Cylons. Obviously, you can play the game without the traitor or the Cylons in the case of Battlestar, and that's all well and good. And then obviously you do have a fully cooperative game, and in the instructions it even says, especially for new players, play as though you are all good people. Don't even look at what your loyalty card is. Play as if you're good and then find out later. Because the game on its own is relatively difficult. It is pretty tough to beat just by itself, much less with the worries of having somebody who's working against you. So overall, though, this is probably a game that would be better for slightly more experienced players, or people who just really enjoy the theme. Because like mini games, if you can get into the theme, it's okay if you don't like the game itself, or if you're not used to playing the games like it. So for all those reasons, Shadows over Camelot is my number 5. At number 4, I have a game that I haven't talked about too much, and it's actually kind of depressing for me because it's a really fun game, and it's also something that if you think of gaming and if you be it tabletop or whatever, then it's sort of the quintessential thing that most people go straight to. The game is Defenders of the Realm. This is like I said, the very quintessential, very straightforward, awesome fantasy RPG style game. I mean, you've got your dwarf, you've got your elves, you've got your dragons, you've got your orcs. It's just everything that fantasy is. It's a really fun game, and it's really nice too because you can play it solo. I do not recommend that. It is extremely difficult playing solo. One issue that I have with this, and part of the reason it's not higher, is because it is only a 4-player game maximum, and the idea is that everybody has to essentially be doing their own thing. There are essentially several bad guys that you have to go and defeat, several leaders of various armies that are coming to attack your city. And the problem is, if you send multiple people after one bad guy, then other bad guys can start to come in and cause a bunch of trouble. So it can be very difficult, and this is definitely a game that's more for experienced players who are, if not used to the cooperative style of game, but just understand strategic decisions and things like that. For games like this more. But that's essentially why it's higher than Shadows over Camelot, is just because, again, this is the type of game that you think of when you hear about gaming. You think about things like D&D and Pathfinder, you think about just like older board games and things like that. So I mean, just combine all of those together, and you've got Defenders of the Realm, basically. Again, it is a good game. It is a lot of fun. I enjoy playing it, but like I said, the biggest issue is, as far as new players, not great. But again, people will certainly be like, oh, look, it's a dragon. I know dragons. I know how to deal with this. So it is a good game. It is a good example of a cooperative game, which is why it is my number 4. At number 3, I have a game that I've talked about several times along with its expansion. It's a really great introductory, co-op game, but just game in general. The game itself is Castle Panic, along with the Wizard's Tower expansion. This is a really cool game for several reasons. The reason that I really like it for new players is because the mechanics are extremely simple. It is a very easy thing to pick up. I mean, you see rings that say the archer, the knight, and the swordsman, and it's like, okay, I have a knight card, clearly I can hit somebody in that ring. And then, I mean, you just have basic color matching. It's very simple, really easy to play, and it's really fun too, because similarly to like Defenders of the Realm, you see sort of the quintessential fantasy ideals in this. You're facing off against trolls and orcs and wizards, and, well, I mean, the wizard is helping you, but you also have bad wizards, like necromancers, and you've got the dragon and all that kind of stuff. It is things that people would be familiar with, but it's great because, unlike a lot of the other games I talked about, the mechanics for this are very simple. It's nice because everybody gets the little card that says this is the order of the things that you do on your turn. There's a ton of table talk. Everybody can say, like, I've got these cards, I need this. It's like everybody's going to be moving, so I'm going to need one of those cards and this, that, and the other. It once you really get into the groove of it, it becomes very simple and very fast, which is wonderful for new people, because a lot of times if somebody is coming from like Monopoly or Sorry or things like that, they don't want a ridiculously long and drawn out game, especially one that they don't really understand very well. But again, theme for Castle Panic is great, mechanics very simple, and it is without a doubt possible to win even if you get some really bad luck. So great game, lots of fun, and the Wizard Tower expansion adds a great deal to it. So for all of those reasons, that's why Castle Panic is my number 3. At number 2, I have sort of a collective of games that are all based off of the same IP and from the same company. The example that I have is Elder Sign. So the general idea for this, for me personally, is the Arkham horror sort of genre. I know it's ridiculous to say that, but it's true in this. And I mean, Arkham Horror itself has a ridiculous number of expansions, new boards, new this, new that, new that. It's ridiculous. It's insane. But something like Elder Sign or its cousin, Eldritch Horror, take a lot of the aspects of Arkham Horror, which in itself is an extremely complicated game, but again, very, very fun, and they sort of boil it down to some of the most basic principles that can make it much faster, much easier, and a lot better in general. So for example, Eldritch Horror, which I don't own but I have played several times, is really, really fun simply because it takes a lot of the aspects from Arkham Horror. Like, you still have the little characters that you move around, but in that case you're moving around in the entire world rather than just the city of Arkham. And you know, you have a much faster setup time, breakdown time, play time, and you still have the feel of Arkham Horror. Elder Sign is very similar. This is just a card and dice game, which again, as far as the new players are concerned, makes this a wonderful step for cooperative games. As far as the theme, you probably won't have a whole lot of people really understanding the theme for this. There aren't a whole lot of people who are really into the whole Lovecraftian thing, but by the same token, for Elder Sign itself, you can play with anywhere from 1 to 8 people. It is an extremely versatile game, and it really doesn't take long once everybody knows what they're doing. It's really, really basic, unlike with Arkham Horror, where you've got the individual items, the weapons, the spells, and all that kind of stuff, and they all do some weird thing. They have their individual things. In this, you have the exact same items, spells, and whatnots, but the whole point is typically they just add dice. And that's it. I mean, you've got the basic pool of dice that changes based on what items you're able to play. And the whole point for this is you have a card, a quest card, an adventure card as it's called, and you're trying to complete that card, and the whole point is you're just matching symbols on dice. It's very, very simple, very straightforward, really easy for really anybody to understand. But again, as far as the theme is concerned, especially for new players, might be a little bit of a turnoff for them. But again, the theme is more of a context for a game like this, and the mechanics itself are what really make it very fun. And again, very cooperative, where you do have things like, okay, I'm on this adventure and we need to complete it. You need to come over here, and then we can help each other and do this, that, and the other. So I think it makes it a really good game. It's a great example of a co-op game, because not only do you have the whole I have to go over here and take care of this, but you also have the idea of I can come to you directly and help you out specifically, things like that. So really, really fun game. Lots of the aspects for both Arkham and Eldritch Horror, but boiled down to a more simplistic ideal. And yeah, so it's great. A great collection of games overall, the entirety of the Lovecraftian series from Fantasy Flight. So with that, the Eldritch Horror, the Elder Sign, and Arkham Horror collection are my number 2. So last but absolutely not least is my #1 cooperative game. And some of you may have guessed it based on the fact that I talked about Shadows over Camelot, which was one of the 2 games that I had in my original first video where I talked about 2 of my favorite co-op games. And the last game is Pandemic. And specifically now, Pandemic along with In the Lab, the newest expansion. Pandemic is just a wonderful game. It is one of my top favorite games of all time. It is a great cooperative game. It has a theme that anybody can understand. I mean, you're talking about, you know, infection spreading across the world. People understand that. People have seen movies like, you know, I Am Legend and Contagion, and, you know, if you're a little bit older, Outbreak, which was a really cool movie if you ask me. But, I mean, people are familiar with this theme. People understand it. People know what's going on. The one thing is within the lab, that might create a little bit of like, type of reactions from a lot of people, not really understanding what they're doing. And again, being a science person, obviously in the lab has to be very abstract in terms of how you're working in the lab, working with the diseases, figuring out what's going on and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's really cool. I think they did a good job of taking something that is extremely complicated, which is, you know, discovering and characterizing a new disease, and boiling it down to something that players can understand that also makes sense for the context. Obviously it's not perfect, but still. Overall though, just Pandemic with the base game is really, really fun. And again, it's something that a lot of people can understand. You've got role picking, which is a wonderful mechanic to introduce to people. Similarly to what was it? I just talked about it, now I don't remember. But Castle Panic and the Arkham Horror and Eldritch Horror and Elder Sign games, you have the idea of both being able to be together and working directly cooperative, as well as being sort of spread out and working cooperatively. So if you are together in a city, you can trade cards. If you are spread out, then essentially you're just staving off disease as you're waiting for new cards to be able to do stuff. Which is why I like games like this above something like Defenders of the Realm, where it becomes very difficult for people to be close together, at least in my opinion. But the game overall also has a great deal of versatility, especially when you add in the On the Brink and In the Lab expansions, because what those expansions add are variety as far as how you can play the game. On the Brink, I believe it was On the Brink, adds in the bioterrorist, which is pretty awesome. I mean, that means that you can essentially play this similarly to Shadows over Camelot, but you know who it is, which is kind of nice, because then I guess it becomes more of a team style of game. But again, that's just a variant you don't have to play with. It is absolutely not necessary. But you do have things like the additional disease. With the Pandemic in the Lab, you can take the addition of the lab requirements. You've got all sorts of new roles. In the Pandemic in the Lab, you also have a team-based game similar to like Shadowhunters, where you've got multiple Contagion teams trying to do the same thing, and you've got goals that they can reach, and whoever gets the most points wins. Something I didn't mention is you have something similar in Castle Panic, where you can have a fully cooperative, but then in the end, who won type of cooperation. But overall, both very, very good. In addition, Pandemic in the Lab also adds in solo rules, which is really cool, where essentially you have the CDC acting as sort of an AI player that helps you out with whatever it is that you're doing. Wonderful games, great expansions, very good quality expansions. I mean, it's from Z-Man Games, one of my favorite publishers. Great components, great quality of game. It's a lot of fun. I mean, as far as cooperative games go, obviously, in my opinion, you can't beat Pandemic. That's why it's my #1. Great game, awesome theme, wonderful for new players because the mechanics themselves are very simple. The roles are easy to understand as far as how they change the game mechanics. And once people are used to it, add in some of the variants to give it a little bit more difficulty. I mean, you can even do stuff like adding in the additional epidemic cards and things like that to make it more difficult. Anyway, I digress. Great game, lots of fun. Pandemic, on the brink, as well as in the lab. Wonderful collection of cooperative fun. Great for new players. Awesome overall. That's why, collectively, it's all my number one. Alright, so that's it for me with my top 5 games that are great cooperative games, and particularly looking at how they help with transitioning new players, because the cooperative games do have that unique aspect to them where you can sort of bring somebody in and be like, yeah, you know, don't worry, I'm going to be helping you out and all this kind of stuff. So I think that they fill a very, very important niche. And I easily could have made my transitionary games video essentially this one, just talk about cooperative games. But, I mean, you have to get some competitiveness if you're going really complicated strategic games. Either way, I digress. Once again, thank you very much for watching my video. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you enjoy many of my other board gaming videos. And with that, if you enjoyed it, please give me a comment for additional cooperative games that you enjoy, and or just to start discussions about the ones that I talked about. You could do pretty much anything, you know. Give me a like and a subscribe. I try to do these videos fairly frequently, working on getting it more frequent, which is very exciting for me and hopefully for you all. But with that, thank you very much for watching once again, and I will see you next time. Thank you very much again for watching my video on my top 5 favorite cooperative board games. If you have any others, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and be sure to check out some of my other latest videos linked at the top of the page. In addition, if you want to see more from me, go ahead and click the big subscribe button for more board gaming as well as video gaming, as well as my rants and demonstrations of science. Right? So with that, thank you very much, and I will see you next time.